A very good morning to everybody present here. With immense pleasure, I welcome you to the second edition of International Media Conference organized by Xavier School of Communications, Xavier University, Bhubaneswar, in collaboration with Odishatv. This year, the organizers have selected the theme, the role of media in democracy. Perhaps the favorable topic during the demonetization and post-US elections era, where media is playing a crucial role. A special thank you to all the distinguished speakers who have come here from journalism fraternity, politics, legal and communications to throw light on assorted forms of media and its direct and indirect contribution to democracy. Moving on, I'd like to request dignitaries to come and join the lighting of the lamp. I'd request Mr. Siddharth Vardarajan, the founding editor and a senior journalist at Wire, to please come upon the stage. I'd also request Baijan Jayapanda, Mr. Baijan Jayapanda, to please come upon the stage. He's one of the members of the parliament, and please come upon the stage. I'd request Ma'am Jaggi Mangat Panda to please come upon the stage. She's the managing director of Odishatv. I'd request our beloved Vice Chancellor of Xavier University, Father Paul Fernandez, to please come upon the stage. And the Dean of Xavier School of Communications, Father Luduraj. Without further ado, I invite Ms. Jaggi Mangat Panda, the Managing Director of Odishatv, to welcome the event.
A very good morning and welcome to all of you to the second International Media and Entertainment Conclave organized by OTV, Odisha Television Limited, and XUB, Xavier's University. The objective of this conference is to bring people from various fields, from the field of media, entertainment, from journalism, from the government, from politics, onto one platform to discuss and share ideas. Through today's sessions, we have some very interesting sessions today, and the inaugural session for today is, does the hidden power of media undermine democracy? While everybody agrees that the contours of today's democracies are manipulated by newspaper, television, radio, internet, critics call for new politics and journalism based on reality and facts. I know this sounds very simplistic, but to discuss precisely that, we have with us today Shri Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Baijan Panda, Lok Sabha, Shri Siddharth Vardarajan, founding editor of Wire, former editor of Hindu, author and also the recipient of the prestigious Ramnath Goenka Journalist of the Year Award. This session will be moderated by Sandeep Sahu, eminent journalist from our state. Followed by this session, we have a very important paper presentation by Shri Krishna Prasad. I welcome you here today, who's former editor-in-chief of The Outlook. Our post-lunch session will have panel discussion on the topic, what are the ways media could play a constructive role in democracy. I do hope you all enjoy today's session and go back enlightened. Let me take this opportunity to once again thank all the speakers and moderators of today's sessions, and for all of you participating in today's program, and for people watching us on TV. A very big thank you. Namaskar.
And now, our beloved Vice Chancellor will speak to us on what this conference aims to achieve. I invite the Vice Chancellor of Xavier University, Bhubaneswar, Father Paul Fernandez, to deliver his message.
When we think of media, in the 1960s when television came up, the word the media came up also. And since then, 1960s, we have what we call media for democracy and development. But as members of this conference, when you want to discuss ideas, you have to ask what kind of media democratization and development do we hope for in the coming days of the future? How close are we to being called truly modern democracy of the 21st century? Is the media really the public expression of the freedom we experience in our everyday life and the protection of that freedom? We have to ask about democratic values. We have to ask about the political communication system which can bypass parliament through the media and social media today. We have to ask the whole system of art communication and even now educational communication through the media and social media. So the complexity is immense, and towards 2006 when YouTube and other Twitter and other things started popping up, we have the advent of the social media. Perhaps this takes media closer to the people. But democracy means supreme power is vested not in one person but in the people. I think that is simpler to understand than the definition that is often quoted. But if you look around, are the people supremely powerful, or are they supremely powerless because of the systems that we have? You are the experts, you will be debating the issues, so I wish you the very best. Have good conversations and good experience here, and do come again and visit us always. Thank you very much. All the very best.
Now we move on to the panel discussion. Opening this panel discussion, subjected on Does the Hidden Power of Media Undermine Democracy, by inviting the founding editor and senior journalist, Mr. Siddharth Vardarajan. Please give him a huge round of applause and a warm welcome, audience. So he has served as the editor of The Hindu as well. A trained economist, he has taught at New York University before returning to India to work as a journalist. A recipient of the prestigious Ramnath Goenka Journalist of the Year Award, his book, Gujarat, The Making of a Tragedy, is considered the most authentic account of the 2002 communal killings in the state. Joining him on the stage is the Member of the Parliament, Shri Baijan Jai Panda. Please give him a huge round of applause and a warm welcome, audience. He is a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Commerce as well as the Consultative Committee for the Ministry of Human Resource Development. Mr. Panda had helped form the Young Parliamentaries Forum and was its convener. He has also been associated in the India-US Forum of Parliamentarians and is its chairman. He was awarded the Bharat Asmita National Award for Best Parliamentary Practices by Honorable Chief Justice of India in 2008. I would also request the session will be moderated by Mr. Sandeep Sahur. I would please request him to join the dignitaries on the stage. Please welcome him by a huge round of applause. Please give them a warm welcome, audience, to this panel discussion that has to be moderated by Mr. Sandeep Sahur.
There are two parts to this proposition. First, whether the media actually has something hidden about its power, and if it does, the second part is whether it undermines democracy, and if it does undermine democracy, how does it do it? And to discuss these intricate points, I don't think we could have had a better panel for this particular topic. Going by the principle of Atiti Devo Bhava, I would first request Mr. Varadarajan to share his thoughts on this particular topic.
The fundamental question that we should be asking is what kind of media does India need? And then, in a way, try to relate the media as it exists today to that ideal benchmark. And I put before you a very fundamental proposition, which is that unless we have in this country media that is free, independent, and fair, you will have a situation where democracy will remain imperfect, because I don't think any of us in this room believe for a moment that our democracy is perfect. And you will have a situation where even this imperfect democracy gets undermined in one way or the other. So to my mind, free, fair, independent. These are the three questions that we need to ask about the state of the media. To the layperson, these three words may mean the same thing. In many ways they do. In many ways there is a relationship between free, fair and independent. By freedom, I mean a media that is free to report, analyze whatever is happening in the country and the world, free from legal, political, and other kinds of pressures. By independent, I mean that even when you have freedom, are you exercising this freedom in a way that is independent, which reflects your own perspective, your own independent choice and will, and not becoming the mouthpiece or voice of somebody else, particularly a political party or a business house. And fair has to do with the manner in which the media conducts itself. What are the rules by which journalists and editors and proprietors are willing to play by? What are the ethical and moral standards to which they are willing to commit? So I would say that the fairness of the media, in a way, or the lack of fairness, cannot be blamed by journalists on external factors. This is how we as media choose to conduct and run our affairs. Today, it is not legally that simple for governments to shut down a newspaper or shut down a TV station, or is it? Two examples. Kashmir Reader, a small newspaper in Srinagar, shut down by administrative order because the state government and the intelligence agencies did not like the kind of coverage that this newspaper was providing. Exhibit number 2, the order passed by an interministerial committee of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting mandating a one-day shutdown on NDTV India because, according to the government and according to this committee, NDTV India's coverage of the Pathankot attack was irresponsible and violated government guidelines. We have allowed the government to frame a rule which says that at a time that a terrorist attack is taking place, journalists will only source information from the designated spokesperson and from nowhere else. So regardless of what NDTV India reported or not, the fact is that under the bare reading of this rule, every media organization that chose to report Pathankot or any other terrorist incident, drawing on other sources of information other than what the designated spokesperson was saying, was technically in violation of this rule. So the belief that many of us had that the government does not enjoy legal power to shut down newspapers or shut down TV stations, we find upon closer scrutiny is not exactly true. There are, of course, other forms of pressure which compromise media freedom. The law of criminal defamation is a prime example where governments, powerful people, use or I would say misuse criminal defamation in order to have a chilling effect, in order to ensure that reporters and editors don't report certain things. There are other laws that governments are able to use, particularly when it comes to online media. We've seen it's quite common that governments are able to, and when I said what is media, I include now as part of the media not just formal media, newspapers, television stations such as OTV or websites such as thewire.in, but also social media, because in a way everybody now, has access to and is able to provide her or his point of view and report things. And we have seen now with striking and, dare I say, chilling regularity, governments in different parts of the country invoking God knows what authority in order to shut down people's access to the internet. We've seen it in Gujarat during the Patidar agitation. We've seen it in Jammu and Kashmir, where for more or less 3 months or 4 months, people did not have access to mobile internet, and in many cases did not have access to a landline internet service either, precisely because the government feared that what use are people going to make of this. There are, of course, economic pressures of one kind or the other, which compromise freedom. Who owns media has become a fundamental question today. Who controls media? And to what extent do the owners and controllers of media then dictate the kind of content which a channel or a newspaper will carry? Very rare are those owners of Indian media who really care about journalism, who really care about freedom of the press, and who really believe that doing good, high-quality journalism is essential to their business. Most of them see journalism as something that is incidental and something that is dispensable. So if a media house owns a newspaper but also has other businesses, and they find that what the newspaper is reporting is in some way hurting those business interests, you will find that the ability of editors and journalists in that newspaper will be immediately, their ability to report freely will be immediately curtailed. So who owns and who controls also has an effect on media. Politicians having a direct link to newspapers. In Odisha, for example, many of the newspapers are directly owned by politicians. In Tamil Nadu, cable TV channels. So there is this very strong link. All of this obviously has an impact on freedom and the independence of the media. Today, you listen to any TV channel, and you will be hard pressed to find a straight news report. Every news item is presented laden with opinion of either the reporter or the anchor, and it becomes very difficult for a viewer to sift fact from opinion. Regrettably, many newspapers also engage in rampant editorialization. There is a tendency, and again this speaks to the lack of fairness. Many newspapers report stories based on incomplete or inaccurate sources. Reporters tend to be far too trusting of official statements and what official sources say. It's quite easy for a police chief in a state or a chief minister or a minister to put out some information under the cover of anonymity, which may be untrue or unverified, but which suits those who are in authority to have this kind of information put out. There are loads of examples that one can think about. One that comes to my mind quite readily is what happened to my colleague Iftikhar Gilani, who is a very respected journalist from Kashmir, works in Delhi, perhaps one of the best informed journalists in those days. I'm talking about in the late 90s. He used to be the chief of bureau of Kashmir Times. And he happens also to be the son-in-law of Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani, the Hurriyat leader. And for some reason, the intelligence bureau and the government decided that, yes, we're going after Bade Gilani, so we also have to go after the son-in-law. So the son-in-law was arrested on a frivolous charge because they found in his computer a document published by a Pakistani website that was originally taken from the Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis in Delhi, which pertained to what was happening in Kashmir 20 years ago. Completely irrelevant document. And they said, this refers to Indian Army, etc. Lagao, Official Secrets Act. So this journalist was locked up under Official Secrets Act, one of the most draconian laws that we have, colonial era laws. And when journalists began to circulate a petition about how Iftikhar Gilani is being framed, somebody in the Home Ministry or the Intelligence Bureau was able to plant a story in Hindustan Times saying that actually people are saying Iftikhar is innocent, but he has made a full confession that he is a jihadi. So this story appears in a leading national daily, attributed to unidentified sources, which immediately took the wind out of the campaign to free him. So this is also where journalists and media houses come under pressure. So fairness is about listening very carefully to who is giving you what information, why they're giving you that information, making judicious use of information, corroborating, fact-checking, making sure that you never report a story based only on a single source. These are all basic rules that every journalism student learns in J school. Everybody ought to learn these rules on the job, in the newsroom, but sadly, increasingly these kinds of rules are going out of the window. Also because, as I said, there is a symbiotic relationship between fairness, freedom. So there is a sense in which, once you compromise, once your freedom is compromised and your independence is compromised, the fairness of the media will also be compromised. And when you have a media that is compromised in this way, and sad to say that today there's a great deal of pressure, the situation is in many ways worse because proprietors, the degree of corporate and management assertion or control over editorial is much more than it has been in the past. And the attitude of proprietors towards what's happening in the country is also rather intolerant because they reflect the intolerance of those in power who have this view that either you're with us or you're against us. Increasingly, I feel that the media is losing its ability to report honestly, factually, and in a way that highlights problems. And because it loses its ability to do that, those in authority, and this is not just an Indian phenomenon, this is a worldwide phenomenon, if the media fails to play that role, then those in authority will increasingly think that they can get away with decisions that are poorly thought out or get away with attacks on democracy, attacks on institutions because they feel that there's nobody out there to challenge them. Today, I feel in India that we are in a situation where the media is not playing the kind of role that it needs to play. As a result, democracy in India, I wouldn't say is in danger, it's not in danger, but the way in which democracy should work and the way in which government should be accountable and the way in which government should be compelled to act in the public interest because of pressure from the public and because of pressure from the media, that is not happening and that is impoverishing us all. Thank you very much.
I'm sure the students of journalism here must have learned a lot of things from what Mr. Rajnath said, and they'll keep those things in mind when they actually become journalists. I would now request Mr. Jay Panda to deliver a speech.
The role that it plays in curated news has been largely overtaken by social media, because without curation, all kinds of information and news gets out there where no judgment is exercised or is exercised by large numbers of people. This is a very crucial difference. It's a very far cry from the days when the editor of the largest circulated newspaper self-described his job as the second most important job in the country. Those days are gone. But not just in India. Those days are gone all over the world. There is a stark change in the role that mass media plays, and it is a far cry from its heyday. If you look at the recently concluded election campaign in the US, you will see that media's credibility, mass media's credibility, has taken a big knock. I believe that one of the reasons is that mass media has drifted away from a core principle which Siddharth talked about, which is the strict iron curtain between views and reportage. This has been talked about for a long time, but I'll give you some specific examples. I personally subscribe to that rigid code that Siddharth mentioned, that there must be that strict separation between views and news if mass media is to regain the credibility that it had once enjoyed. For some years now, I've read, many journalists claim that objectivity is not possible and that it's okay to bring your crusading fervor into reportage. I don't agree with that. You can have a crusading fervor, but reportage must be strictly neutral. You must, in fact, have a crusading fervor, but you must restrict that to your editorials and to your opinion pieces, not to news. Because once you start applying that crusading fervor to news and to reportage, you become judge, jury, and hangman. And that scope isn't there in democracy for media. Media has the role to prosecute, to expose, not to judge and be the hangman. That role in a democracy is there for other people to do. Opinions and news can no longer be suppressed. These are the kind of things that undermine the credibility of media. And when certain media organizations believe they have the power, that they can get away with this, they are undermining their own efforts. By the way, I have, as a columnist, been subjected to certain parts of my pieces being taken out because it doesn't suit some people. Not for lack of space, not for grammatical reasons. I don't write for those publications anymore after such experiences. So I'm mentioning these things because media has a crucial role to play. It is the fourth pillar of democracy. And that fourth pillar can only be effective if it has credibility. Of course, to the extent that mass media organizations can themselves be credible in one entity rather than having to look at various organizations to find out their agendas, then I believe they still have that power to shape democracy for the good, not to undermine it. Thank you.
Both our panelists have made some very crucial points. Mr. Siddharth Bharadarajan spoke about what are the dangers for free, fair and independent journalism, and he also made subtle distinction between these three words which sound very similar but have quite different meanings in the context of the media. Like all good things, this also has to come to an end. I thank Mr. Varadarajan and Mr. Panda for their valuable thoughts on the topic. And thank you very much for listening patiently. Thank you very much.
The second session, the topic rahichi, what are the ways media could play a constructive role in democracy? Ba ganatantra re ganamadhyama kemiti eko गठनमूलक भूमिका निर्वाह करि परिबो एनी अधिक आलोकपात करिया पई मु वर्तमान हमर प्रथम अतिथि श्रीजुक्त सुभाष दास को अनुरोध करिबी से किछि कहिबे.
So we are discussing about the constructive role of media in democracy. Why we are discussing? Because there must be something missing from the side of media that is not helpful for the democracy. I say it a missing link. And for the missing link, I have coined another two words, not so good constructive role of media. I cannot say it's a destructive role, but not so constructive role. So there must be a bridge between not so constructive role and a constructive role of media that should be playing in our democracy. That is a bridge. The missing link is that very bridge. And what are the ingredients that have the bridge is made up of so many virtues you must be knowing, but in this rat race, you have missed it completely. What are those virtues then? You all know all these points. I am here to just refresh your memory. Is the knowledge one, your patience, your analytical power, your courage, your commitment, and the point of view, how you perceive a thing, how you perceive a subject. Why I am saying all these points that construct a bridge? Because nowadays, we are all missing all these virtues. We have never asked ourselves. There is a saying that average people always discuss on issues. We must have heard. Below average people, they always discuss on individuals. And above average, they only discuss on ideas. You must have heard all these lines, right? But most of us are always involved in discussing issues and spend much more time discussing about all other individuals. So there must be a change in our perception. For that is the perfect time to introspect ourselves. What do we know? What sort of changes? We always try to change others. No, it is never, 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 never ever possible. This cannot be. Try to change yourself. Try to be a good human being. Once you will become a good human being, everything will fall in place. And there won't be any breeze between not so good constructive role of media and constructive role of media. So let us, I don't say कि media में good people नहीं है, ये बात नहीं है. There are good people, but we want more. ठीक है, thank you.
Moving on to our next guest, आम सहित उषाशी मैडम अछंती, तांकर मतामत नबा जानिबा से कोन कहउछंती.
Can we imagine without media in our life today? Can we? नहीं ना? नहीं ना? व्हाट्सएप के बिना चलेगा? नहीं चलेगा ना? विंक के बिना चलेगा? नहीं चलेगा. इंटरनेट के बिना नहीं चलेगा. गूगल के बिना नहीं चलेगा. फेसबुक के बिना नहीं चलेगा. ट्विटर के बिना नहीं चलेगा. So that's what we want to tell you all. Yes, these are the medium where we need, not just this newspaper is very much required, radio is very much required, television to hona hi mangta hai. So these are the forms and these are the ways the media reaches us, the general mass. Newspaper, as I just spoke out. Newspaper, it has been the first mass media content to affect the way people consider their role in this society. If you are thinking, if you are 18 years old and you have the rights of voting, so what is your first thought which comes in your mind? Today I'm going to vote. That's the excitement. And I'm quite sure whenever you guys must have gone for voting, ये नहीं सोचा होगा कि किसको वोट देना है और क्यों देना है, कैसे देना है. पहली बार तो ये है कि हम वोट देने जा रहे हैं और एक बार जब वोट हो गया और वो मार्क आ गया, come on, I am now legally adult. You declare yourself an adult. But definitely, that's the first thought process which we inculcate in you, the youth mass, to think. And once you start thinking, obviously, there will be दोस्तों के बीच में गुफ्तगू होंगे, आप लोग बात करोगे, अरे यार ये वाला लीडर अच्छा है, वो वाला लीडर अच्छा नहीं है. क्लास मॉनिटर्स का भी सिलेक्शन होता है ना? क्यों वो इतना ऊंचा क्यों जाना है? क्लास मॉनिटर्स का सिलेक्शन के लिए भी यू ऑल वोट, तुम्हारे एंटरटेनमेंट लीडर्स के लिए भी यू वोट. सो दैट इज वेयर योर इंफॉर्मेशन एंड योर ओपिनियन मैटर्स फॉर एवरीथिंग. आई गेस आज मुझे छींकना है, क्यों छींकना है? वो हो सकता है यार मुझे छींक आ रही है, मेरे नाक में गुदगुदी हो रही है, आई जस्ट फील लाइक इरिटेटिंग समबडी. सो देयर माइट बी वैरायटी ऑफ रीजंस टू डू सो, बट देन दैट इज my opinion. Okay, I have an open opinion, and since we are a democratic country, we have been given that right to have an opinion. Yes, newspaper, why they are vital. You know how they play a vital role in inculcating a positive impact on democracy. Yes, they comment on current events and keep us informed. For example, a news flashed on newspaper on farmers' interest. Odisha government to make Aadhaar card mandatory for procurement of paddy, where the Aadhaar card number of the beneficiaries is recorded for availing ration under National Food Security Scheme. It is just a general highlight in newspaper. तो आपको लगता होगा कि इसमें क्या important है, क्या interesting है. Generally because you guys are student, तुम्हें कोई भी interest नहीं होगा. Like a farmer who is cultivating and who is into farming will definitely show interest because his Aadhaar card will be recorded, and this would be like taken into security for which he will be given the ration paddy which he gets. I think something 25 kg which is given usually to the people below poverty line. So it matters for that person, and that person also has the rights of having an opinion. आज अगर चावल 2 रुपए में मिलता है, तो I do have यार मैं 2 रुपए में चावल मिल रहा है, तो yeah, as a lay person, this leader is good because he has got me that kind of ration in such a meager amount. So that is my opinion. But maybe, you know, those who are the middle class family, they might be thinking कि यार उनको अगर 2 रुपए में मिल रहा तो हमें क्यों ना मिले, ये भी हो सकता है. तो वो भी एक ओपिनियन बनता है. तो न्यूज़पेपर हमें इन्फॉर्म करते हैं so that we can have a opinion on any kind of topic, you know, be it any कुछ भी हो सकता है. कुत्ता मर गया रास्ते पे, उसको कौन उठाएगा, क्यों नहीं उठाएगा, कैसे उठाएगा, कैसे मारा. These are all different kind of aspects where you can have an opinion. It criticizes, newspaper criticizes and appreciates the conduct of the government. Now I come to television. Television debates on good and bad topics, presents the omnipresence of our political leaders and their work. It helps the voters to recognize them and their deeds, which is for the benefit of the public. Like हमारे एरिया में कॉर्पोरेटर क्या काम कर रहा है, MLAs क्या काम कर रहे हैं, MPs क्या काम कर रहे हैं, so that when you come to know about it, you start having an opinion for the next election. So that's how television helps us. This was television. Radio. It has become the most accepted medium of to reach maximum mass because it is less expensive, you know. एक बार रेडियो खरीदो चलेगा, बहुत साल तक चलेगा, you know. कहीं पे रख दो, ट्रांजिस्टर एक छोटा सा रख दो, चलेगा. आजकल तो मोबाइल में भी है. You have got a FM in your mobiles. Definitely, that is also there. It is an effective medium to promote the grassroots democracy by airing local issues, providing alternative source of information. Emails offers swiftest mode to exchange views of current topics, participate and debate on public beneficiary topics. Displays, the websites which have been constructed by the governments for the public, helps us and advises us to judge and find out solutions for the problems. Displays of public data on online. ये तो बहुत अच्छा चीज़ हमारे लिए अभी हो गया है कि आप कोई भी ऑनलाइन ये में जाइए, ORG दबाइए एंड ऑल, यू विल गेट लॉट ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन. भूलेख में जाइए, आपको लैंड के बारे में पता चल जाएगा. कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन आप पर्सनल लेवल पे जाइए तो गवर्नमेंट का उसी साइट में चाहिए एंड यू विल गेट all of it. So that's how easy it's become. You know, like you just have to tap a few buttons, that's all. Helps people to share their views, speak, hear, discuss, vent their thoughts. In short, I would say that it is up to us, the general person, the general public, to make out of the positive and the negative. It is completely on to us whether we make the best out of the positive thing or break out of the negative thing. Yes, every coin has two sides. You can choose the head and tail relatively. And yes, every dark cloud has a silver lining. It is us to whether look into the dark cloud or the silver lining. Thank you very much.
जो टॉपिक आज आमर एठी थिला देश गठन रे गणतंत्र को सुदृढ़ करिबारे गणतंत्र बहुत बड़ गणमाध्यम बहुत बड़ भूमिका अच्छी. ता सहित आमर मध्य भूमिका अच्छी, दर्शकों मध्य भूमिका अच्छी. से जिनसा को आम मन रखा दरकार. एथर कौन सी दुई मत ना. अनेक अनेक धन्यवाद आज आम सहित आलोचना रही. आम सहित आज थिले सुभाष दास महोदय थिले, उषाशी मिश्र थिले एवं अलीना सामंतराय थिले. पुणी थे धन्यवाद.
बाला झूले लालन लाल मेरी पत रखियों बाला झूले लालन सिंदड़ी दा से बनदा सबे सफा टमाटम मस्त कलंदा अली दा पहला नंबर टमाटम मस्त कलंदा अली दा दम्बे अंदर ओ लाल मेरी है लाल मेरी है शामे मलंग सी बाकी उरंग सी वादी उड़ान पे आजा है क्यों इलाही मेरा दिया आए इलाही मेरा दिया आए हो जा जरा मतलबी दुनिया की सुनता है क्यों खुद की भी सुन ले कभी कुछ बात गलत भी हो जाए अब तेरे भी दिल भी खो जाए मैं भी कल धड़कने इस तरह से झूमे शोर गूंजे यहाँ से वहाँ सूरज सुबह है यारो दो गुट नशे के मारो रस्ते बुला दो सारे संसार के सूरज सुबह है यारो दो गुट नशे के मारो रस्ते बुला के सब संसार के तू भी दिन चले तू भी दिन ढले तू भी हो बंधु सखा तू भी दिन चले तू भी दिन ढले तू भी हो बंधु सखा ओ बंधु सता तुम्हें सूरज डूबा है यारो दो गुट नशे के मारो रस्ते बुला तो सारे गलबार के सूरज डूबा है यारो दो गुट नशे के मारो रस्ते बुला तो सारे गलबार के सूरज डूबा है यारो दो गुट नशे के मारो टमाटम मस्त कलंदर अलीदा पहला नंबर टमाटम मस्त कलंदर टमाटम मस्त कलंदर 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 हो अलीदा पहला नंबर थैंक यू एवरीवन
Welcome back to the second international conference organized by Xavier School of Communications in collaboration with Odishatv. So moving on, I may invite on the stage Mr. Krishna Prasad, the former editor-in-chief of the Outlook, to please come on the stage because he will be moderating the entire paper presentations.
All the four states, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary and the media, they should coordinate with each other, not to pull each other apart. So what we find here, all the four states are working in different directions and pulling each other. That's why there is no coherence in the policies or creating a political space. So any understanding of Kashmir issue revolves around the problem that it is an integral part of India. Please talk on this point.
Exactly. To answer your question or to rather substantiate your point, so if in case you get the opportunity to go through the paper, we spoke about this ontological network which comes from the epistemology of research, where the importance of ontological network when we are talking about a particular issue is being very much important. So in this case, or in this context, when we are talking about democracy in Kashmir, so we definitely has to give importance to the other nodes of that ontological network which you just now spoke, judiciary, legislature, executive, and definitely media. So what we would be arguing, yes, media cannot work in silos, or rather these spaces can be negotiated further, but up to what extent and up to the power and up to the supreme authority where there is this abstract nature of state. So how the abstract nature of state can be further also negotiated with these four ontological nodes of that particular network can be further questioned or can be further critiqued. So it's a very valid point and good point. Thank you.
When you talk of the ideal role to be played in constructing democracy in Kashmir or in the backdrop of Kashmir, is there a distinction you make between media in mainland India and the media in Kashmir itself? Or are they the same in your eyes?
Just before I let him answer the question, we asked for a change in the title. It is not ideal role, it is a desired role, because as I said in the beginning, ideal role can be further question and critique. And Ayan will take this question.
And to answer this particular question, so this is the one thing from which our research stemmed actually. So what we wanted to do was analyze the media narratives by the Kashmiri locals over there. The few media also that you said were shut down or probably censored by the government. We wanted to analyze their viewpoint also and what the mainland Indian media is also trying to do. But then again, as we progress with the paper, so the idea of this particular document is to analyze the media as a whole. So be it on the mainland, be it on the other side of the border in Pakistan, or probably within the Kashmir Valley itself. So we want to just get this across that media should be more responsible and be more in sync with the reality rather than acting on the notions of a particular state's narrative and propagating that? What has been your thing about?
The next topic is a very interesting one as far as I am concerned, and I've been personally involved in this in different ways. It's on media and people's perceptions and attitudes towards Dalits in modern India.
You please define according to who is a Dalit. We would like to know. I have studied in 20-30 years back. I went to school. My parents never asked me to discriminate, or I never allowed, or I've never had the concept of untouchability, in fact, in my household. So that is not there in men. There are sporadic incidents even now when Dalit woman is not allowed to cook and all. There are, but the concept is fading away. We are no longer looking into the religion or caste. Is this research a little bit archaic? We need to reinvent new think about.
Talking about the Varna system which prevailed earlier, the four systems, the Chatur Varnas, as I explained, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Shudras. There was a fifth sector which was known as Dalit or the broken men. They didn't comprise of these Chatur Varnas. They were the untouchable peoples, those who didn't get into this Chatur Varna system. Secondly, the archived research question. The people, those who responded, the survey was conducted in urban areas. So maybe the survey can vary if it was conducted in rural or particularly proper rural area. It was done in urban and semi-urban areas. So what the respondents say that the perceptions which people develop, I am very glad to know that we were not brought up in such a way. But people, those who stay in semi-urban areas, they actually see that when they were brought up, or when people, what people commented, that when people used to come at their places for cleaning and everything, they were not allowed to sit with them or have a word with them, and they were not given equal status. So the research actually concludes all this. In urban areas, we are that much privileged that we are moving towards a westernized culture and having a very broad thinking. But we should actually acknowledge the fact that there are certain Dalit atrocities which are still prevailing in rural India as well as urban India. And people are actually trying to, leverage this fact. If we see that the student Rohit's case, it was a full political background which was created out of this. So, giving Dalits the equal importance.
I extremely thank all my paper presenters for contributing and sharing their area of research. I also thank Mr. Krishna Prasad for moderating this session. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Thank you for being with us here, and I wish you a very good night and a great day ahead. Thank you.